we're back again. All of my peoples, and I have some fancy, cool new tricks. Know what I mean? Today, we're going to be talking about the settings, the proper settings to use in the slicer for the light boxes so that you can have your best luck, hopefully on your first print and not printing 4 or 5 of these light boxes before you get a good one. So this was actually months in the making on getting these settings correct. I will go ahead and say my settings are, the settings that I use are better for slower printing filaments. Like Polymaker is extremely good for these settings. Generic filaments, Hatchbox is really good. The filaments that I've come across that don't, well, I haven't printed with eSun, but eSun is a faster printing filament. It doesn't do as well. It'll leave little tiny lines. It's more of like a 18. You want to have more of like an 18 on the max volumetric speed for like eSun and Bambu filament, stuff like that. So for generic filaments, generic normal printing speed filaments, my settings are great for. If you have faster printing filaments, there's a guy named John in my Discord, and he can provide you the settings that he uses for eSun and such. And he has great print settings on his. But I don't have any of those faster printing brands. I try to keep all my stuff pretty consistent with each other whenever I'm printing models. So with that said, if you want to try my settings, which it should be a good baseline, even for the faster printing materials, you just want to bump up the volumetric, and you should be getting pretty close, and you should be able to dial it in. So we'll go ahead and pop over to my site real quick. If you want to download one of my and use mine as a basically a template, just come to my website, Shurdle.com/models. Scroll down, just pick one of the latest light boxes. We'll pick the Disturbed Medic one in this case. You can just download it for free, and then after you download it, open it up, delete all the files, all the models off of it, and then just hit you with a file, save project as. Save it somewhere on your computer that you can just dump your new models onto this template, and then you can go from there. While you're here, please check out my website, which has a ton of multicolor 3D printing models, as well as how-to instructional videos, how to make them. I also take commissions. If you do not want to create your own model, don't have the time to do it, you could contact me and I will make them for you. Please support my work by subscribing, and I have a ton of models on the website for you to check out for free. Just scroll through them, find what you want, download the zip file, and hit print. Thanks. So let me see what I'm going to get to first. Print settings. Okay, good. You can see the screen and everything's good. So print settings. What I have changed, oh no, I don't have the orange because I have a saved profile on here. Normally whenever you change the settings, it's lit up orange for all the different changes, but I do have very minimal changes because I spent months and months testing different settings, but I wanted to do this with as little setting changes as possible because I didn't want somebody to open up the slicer and say, oh, well, I need to adjust every single setting in the slicer just to get a good lightbox print. I wanted to try to do as little changes as possible, as newbie friendly as possible. So starting on the quality tab right here, this is on just not, I do all of my light boxes with 0.2 just because it's a good layer height to stack layers on light boxes. The front of them is only 1 millimeter thick, so 0.2, that tells you 5 layers thick on the front. You can make them thicker or thinner, but 0.2 layers is good so that you can go, if you wanted to make a 0.6 all the way up to 2.0 thickness. 0.2 is a good, well-rounded layer height. So all of this is going to be default. Let's see, what I did change is the wall generator. Put that on Arachne. That is going to keep you, going to help fill in the gaps in the tight corners. Is essentially what it's going to do, is bring out all the small details in a print. I'll go ahead and bring up a couple example pictures that I saved to show you what you will run across if you don't use Arachne. Oh, I got a lot of extra stuff on here. So this is a good example. You can see all these pinholes. This was likely, this is not my print. This is likely not using Arachne wall generator. As you can see that it's in the tighter areas where the pinholes are at. If you use Arachne wall generator, you're gonna get far less pinholes. I'm not gonna say you're gonna be completely free of pinholes. That's where the more of the settings come in play. But if you use classic wall generator, you're gonna, let's go ahead and bring in the files from our week 2. That way I can go ahead and show you what it's gonna look like. We're gonna go to my videos. I'll go ahead and show you how to pull in all the files. We'll go to your STLs folder, pull in all the colors, the relevant colors, black, blue, and white. Now, whenever you import multicolored files into the slicer, you're gonna get this little pop-up. If you click no on this, you're not gonna have a good time because all the pieces are gonna be separated from each other. And if you have any stacked layers, all of the layers are gonna fall straight down to the bed. And you want all of them to be tied together. So load these files as a single object with multiple parts. You wanna click yes on this every time. So click yes. I'm gonna go ahead and drag this prime tower out of the way. So we can click on this on your model, come over to the objects tab. Okay, so this is how I name my object, or the bodies. Black, I have it set to number 2, which is right up here. Blue, I have it set to 4. I have these memorized because I use them so often. You can just type on the keypad what number you want all the way up to 9. I don't remember if there's a way to type in the higher numbers, but it's not just by simply typing in 10. So you can either quickly type that in or you can just click on it, hit the drop down like you do every normal thing. Okay, so once you have this, obviously we're gonna wanna flip it over because we don't want to have supports under here. So I'm gonna go ahead and lay on face, click the top, it's flipped over. I'm gonna put this in a good position to slice it. Okay, you can see these tight little corners right here. I'm gonna show you what the difference is between Arachne wall generator and classic. Have I got any models on Maker World with the printing set up ready? I don't right now. All of my models are on my website. Okay, so this is with the Arachne wall generator. Look at, you can kind of see how tight, let me drag it around. See how tight these little areas are? There's a tiny little gap right here. See, not too many tight areas on this one, but you'll see it right away whenever I switch it to wall generator, classic. Let's reslice it. There's gonna be bigger, might not be the best model to show, but there's gonna be bigger gaps in this. This font is pretty laid back. It's not really too aggressive. But these corners right here on classic, you're gonna have a lot bigger holes in the corners. Yeah, this is a bad example for that. I can show you a better example. Let me import the turbo skull and show you really what's up. Let's go to the turbo skull, black, white, import. Now you're gonna really see a huge difference because this is an insane model. which actually it might take a minute to slice. See all the details on this? Black is 2. Okay, you're gonna see a lot of pinholes in this. I have it still on classic wall generator. I'm just gonna go ahead and slice this facing up so that we can see it. This might take a second. So that's gonna be under quality, classic wall generator. Our classic is what you don't want to use for detailed models, such as this. Okay, maybe I went from one extreme to the other. This is probably going to take a second. Come on. Probably going to give me a thing saying that I have overhangs since it's going to be bridging across. Okay. You can already see all these huge gaps. Huge gap here, 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 here. So there's gaps everywhere. These are all going to be pinholes if I printed it like it is right now. All of these giant, giant holes everywhere. So if I switch this to Arachnid wall generator, slice it, give it a minute. Let's see, while I'm on the quality, while this is slicing, I'll go down some more. So wall generator, Arachnid. Kind of hard to see them without the orange. I do not have very many settings changed. Also, okay, so we'll go to the next tab. I think that's the only change on the quality side. Strength, wall loops 2, kind of generic. Okay, so top shell layers 5, bottom shell layers 5. This is what I kind of normally use because this has me covered for 10 solid layers from front to back. If I make a 2 millimeters thick light box, if I wanted to shade one area, make different, kind of like a hue forge style, different shading for the same color, I can make one color thicker than the other. If I have 10 layers thick, I'm good for up to 2 millimeters. The default on this is 3 and 3, I believe. So you're good from the generic settings up to 1.2 millimeters thick on your front. So this is more of a preference thing, but just know if you do not change your top shell layers and bottom shell layers and you go over 1.2 millimeters thick, it's gonna show an infill layer inside of here. And your light box is gonna look terrible with light going through it because you're gonna see the infill. Also, top surface, or actually bottom surface pattern. Bottom surface pattern, I have it changed to monotonic. Monotonic will go to the edge, sweep over, come back, sweep over, come back. Just like so. It doesn't go to the edge, pick up, bounce over, jump over, come back. Jump up, come over, come back. With the monotonic, it's going to go to the edge, sweep over, and you're going to get less pinholes this way because whenever the walls are tied in, it's going to be a solid line. It's not going to go to the end, jump up, move over, come back down. You're going to have a lot less pinholes like this. Okay, it's sliced now. You can see how much tighter, it forces these details to come out. These little pinhole areas are a lot smaller than classic, which I'll go ahead and show you. You can kind of see some white wall through this. I knew this was going to be a super, super problematic pinhole light box. So you can see tiny little holes. This is because of the Arachnid wall generator. If I flip it over, you'll see I cheated a little bit and I put solid white layers behind this. This is to kind of quote unquote cheat a little bit. I put solid layers behind it so that none of the pinholes show through here. Otherwise, if I didn't, you can see where these gaps, because there's so many details, this is going to have pinholes in it no matter what. So with the solid white back layer, I have myself covered, kind of like an insurance policy, I guess. So bottom surface pattern, monotonic. The infill, you don't have to worry about infill on these. I have the walls 2.5 millimeters thick. They're almost essentially solid. So you don't really need to worry about infill. This is the only place where infill is even going to be, is in the box. So, I mean, really, if you wanted to, you could just make the box a little bit thinner. That way it's solid. But this kind of looks like an Elvis. But that's the only place where the infill is even going to be relevant. Because if you have the 5 top and bottom layers, or even just if this is 1 millimeter thick, it's going to be solid all the way through. I have 0 infill. So I'm scrolling down to see each layer right now. See, there's no infill. That's because I have too many top and solid bottom layers. So next is I believe that's everything on the strength tab. What I have changed. The speed, I don't have anything changed on the speed tab. I'm not a big fan of playing with speeds because I don't really like to tinker too much. I like to try to get a base generic print profile that is decent, well-rounded enough for everybody to get a good, decent print. It's not going to be perfect, of course. If you want a perfect print, or as close to perfect as can be, you're going to want to dial in your filament. And that's going to be specific to your brand and the grade of filament that you're working with. Because obviously Hatchbox, Polymaker, eSun, Bambu, all the filament brands are not going to be identical. You can get pretty close with some generic settings, and then if you want it perfect, you're going to have to dial in and calibrate your filament. So speed, I don't change anything on the speed. Support, no support obviously because we're printing this face down. Others, prime tower enable, everything is normal. Let's see, I need to find where is the elephant foot compensation? Oh, I thought I just seen it. I do have the elephant foot right here, elephant foot compensation. I have this set to 0. This is another setting, okay, on the quality tab. I set this to 0 because whenever you print this face down, it's also going to help. The elephant foot compensation is going to help use this white and black together by having that little bit of extra elephant foot squish. The layers aren't going to be side by side. They're going to be kind of very slightly overlapping and merged, just meshed together. This is going to help for a strength purpose. Whenever you pull it off of the bed plate, you shouldn't just peel it apart. It should be very, very strong with all of the layers merged and fused together. With the elephant foot compensation 0, that should help with the strength a ton. Okay, so now that I've went over the print settings, that's pretty much all the print settings that I changed, what I've went over right now. Filament settings. Filament settings, you can see I have different profiles set and I have it named Lightbox. I don't have very many settings changed on here, but I'll go through them right now. For colors, this is for colors, all of the colors except black. You don't want to use these settings with black. Right now I have my flow ratio to 1.02. It's a good conservative flow ratio for a good happy medium. It's not gonna blob up your print, but it's also not gonna, it should fill in any of these tiny little pinholes. If you do an extreme amount of details such as these, and you do have a little pinhole, what you can do is raise this to maybe a 1.04, maybe 1.05. If you start going too high, this is your print's going to look super blotchy and you're not going to have as good detail because you're basically overcompensating for the pinholes and you're just smashing plastic onto the plate. And it's not going to have near as good line detail. So you want to be careful how much you raise your flow ratio. Other than that, that is, so the flow ratio is about all I have, other than that I have my softening temperature raised up higher because I print with the cooling plate at 55. It's more of a personal it helps the higher your temperature on the bed to help stick to the bed. Okay, so another thing that I do for the light boxes, the cooling. The auxiliary fan speed, 0%. If you have a big light box and you have that auxiliary fan just blowing 100 miles an hour, you are likely going to have some curling on the fan side, and it's going to start peeling up, and you're not going to have a good final product. So fan 0%. I leave the door to the printer open. The top off if you can. Just obviously with PLA, it loves airflow. Just not blowing straight on a big surface area, or you're going to get peeling. And that's about it for the colors. So for the black I do have different. This is a problem. This is one of the problems that we were fighting for months and months. So on black, we'll discard that. So on black, flow ratio, I do have it raised just a tiny hair. The default generic flow ratio is 0.98. I have it set to 1 just to give it a little bit of a cherry on top, just to get a little bit of extra flow. This is just to help a tiny bit. You don't want extra black flow ratio. Also on black, max volumetric speed. On the color, the default is, on my color profile, the default is 12 millimeters cubed, and I have this lowered down to 10. This is gonna keep you from slinging as much plastic all over the place. And then also the nozzle temperature, I have this set to 200. So essentially low and slow type of a deal. So on my black, lower flow ratio, lower temperature, lower max volumetric speed. And I will show you why. These 3 components were my biggest factor in keeping these wisps. I just went through my multicolor Facebook group and I looked up the term wisps because this is what everybody was fighting for months and months. You can see these large wisps all over the place. This is from having too high of a flow ratio, because you're burning up the black PLA and it's just dragging wisps all over the place back and forth. And whenever your nozzle has a collected amount of black filament on the tip of it, as soon as it picks up, carries across one of these white areas, if it touches anything, you're going to have a bad time. It's going to just touch that piece of white filament and drag off the nozzle. So you want the max volumetric speed, the temperature, and the flow ratio to be lower on the black. Well, really any super dark colors that you don't want to see through the... So here's one example. I'll show you a few more examples. Let's see here. Those are pinholes. You can see the pinholes in this one are in black as well. This is why I just raised the flow ratio a tiny hair. But most of the pinholes in this are in the colors. Pinholes. Okay, so wisp, same print. Wisp, this is due to high flow ratio of black. Black wisp. So cat is wanting out. So this is what we were fighting for months and months. And those three settings, what I changed, got rid of probably 95% of these in slower printing filaments like I mentioned at the beginning. Okay, let's close that. And just to show a very minor amount of my test and tuning. This was about 1/3 of the test and tuning that I did fighting these wisps, changing settings and settings and settings. And you can see some defects, print defects on each one of these. And I have notes and notes and notes of different settings changes. for each one. 1 second. If the door is closed, the cats want out. If the door is closed, the cats want in. Have to keep them happy or else they just keep knocking on the door. So, print settings. Let's see what is next on the list. Thickness settings. I already mentioned this before, but the generic 0.2 profile is you're good for up to 1.2 millimeters thick. Scaling the light box. Okay, here's a good one. I will also show you how to properly scale one of these light boxes. If you accidentally make it too large, too small. Let me bring back in the other one so it's not so slow in the slicer. We'll bring in the blue, black, white. Yes, remember, always click yes. You color these real quick. Once you have these memorized, you can go through these really fast. Okay. So if I made this too big or too small, you want to scale this, or just say you downloaded one and you want to print it on your A1 Mini. If we wanted to print it on an A1 Mini, you can click your model. Let me click off so that everything is selected. Click your model. You're going to go to scale. You're going to drag the scale down to whatever you want, or you can just type in your size. If it's an A1 Mini, 180 is the max bed size, so we'll probably say 160 to be safe. But if you scale everything 160, that's also going to scale your Z down. So what you need to do is uncheck uniform scale and bring your Z height back up to 100%. You do this, your front face is going to stay the same thickness and everything is going to be peachy. Your USB hole will be the same height, but obviously it's not going to be the same width because you've scaled down the X and Y. But you want the Z height to be scaled 100%. That way you don't have any weird thicknesses going along right here on your front design. So that's how you scale something properly, a light box properly. Make sure the Z is at 100%. We're getting pretty close on time. So let's see what else. Scaling. Okay, one more thing, and then we can wrap this up. So with all these settings changes, you're also going to want to print other models, or other pieces of the model, such as the stand. I'll bring it down here, and then the back plate. So after making these a while, people were complaining about the print time because obviously most of the back plates are going to be black. So with that lower max volumetric speed, the print is going to go slower. So what I did with the extra pieces, such as the stand and the back plate, I'm going to set this to my, you can see over here on number 16, I have a PLA aux fan off. I set another profile. This is just generic settings, generic print settings, and I just have the aux fan turned off. Nothing else has changed on this. It's generic 0.2 print profile with the aux fan turned off and colored black. So I'm going to select that profile. And now my volumetric speed, everything is back to normal if I use my my normal print profile for these, filament profile for these. Then I can do the same thing with the stand. And one more thing with the stand is if you make them following my videos, whenever you import it, the back side of the stand is going to be face down. If you're printing on a fancy textured bed, you're going to want to flip this over. So we'll click the stand, lay on face, make it face down. That way you have no bridging. It's a perfect print all the way up. And then also, if you're printing on a textured surface, you're going to have that nice, pretty texture on the front of your stand, along with the front face of your light box. That way everything is consistent. Consistency is key. Like Grumpy mentioned above, consistency is everything. So I believe that should be everything you need to know as far as the slicer settings. That's everything that I'm changing up on the slicer settings. If you have any questions, we will have those down in the application hangout. But thanks again for hanging out and following along. And if you have any questions, we will answer those in application hangout. If you're watching on YouTube, come to the Polymaker Discord. You can find the link to it in my description on my socials. You can just Google search Polymaker Discord, it'll be there. But we have these live events every week, and then you can join in live or just watch it on YouTube later on. All right, I will catch all of y'all in the application hangout and answer any questions that you have. Thanks for watching and coming. So brief interruption. If you could go to Shurdle.com/links and purchase any of your items such as Bambu Lab printers, filament, LED string lights you might use for the light boxes, Polymaker Filament, my affiliate link here, Vectorizer AI. It is no longer free. You can use this to use my affiliate link. That would be greatly appreciated. Thank you very much.